Hello, welcome to episode 41 of Berry Fun Adventures. My name is Tanya, and I'm coming to you from southeast Minnesota, where my family and I run Firefly Berries, which is a fruit farm, and we specialize in strawberries and grapes and naturally dyed yarn, which is my Berry Fun Yarns product line. So thank you for coming back if you are a returning viewer, and if you are new, welcome, and thanks for checking out the channel. It has been a bit longer than expected since I came to you last. However, let's see, I came to you shortly before we went on vacation to Seattle. We had a lovely trip, my husband and I. We went to Pike's Place Market. I found some yarn. We did some touristy things. We did some hiking and relaxing. It was just kind of a long weekend to get away and relax after fruit season. He had to be there for a day for work, so we just made a little bit longer trip of it. We came back, I think it was the day before Halloween, and that week I was full on packaging up all of the yarn advent kits. I will talk more about that later in the episode, but if you are still looking for a Advent Countdown kit, we do still have a few Berry Fun Yarns kits available in the shop. The link is below. But so we came back, and that whole week I spent working on packaging up the kits, and then I finished them, I think, on Friday, shipped them out on Saturday, and then on Sunday morning early, one of our kittens, Hershey, who is now 7 months old, was playing with something underneath the stove, one of his toys, and his brother spooked him from behind, and he pulled his paw out in a weird way, and he sliced his paw. And we had to take him to the emergency vet that Sunday morning, where he got 3 staples put in his paw and had to wear the cone of shame for like a week and a half and be separated from everyone else. So for the next week, I pretty much spent with him in a separate room, and his brother and his mom got to come in and visit occasionally, but they didn't really get to play because we were kind of protecting the paw. We didn't want anybody to clean it or try and pull the staples out. Anyway, he was very depressed by the end of the whole thing and made himself sick, and it was a lot of cat drama for a week and a half. And then I got sick for a little bit, and then my son, who is a junior in high school and dances, was playing the engineer in the Polar Express production last week, and I was volunteering as stage manager. So we spent probably at least 4 hours a day every day at the theater, either for dress rehearsals with the orchestra or performances and whatnot. So today is Tuesday, November 21st, I think. And yeah, it's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving here in the United States, and it's midday, I don't even know, like maybe noonish, 12 o'clock. And I thought I'd get in a little recording here quick because I have knit quite a bit because I went on vacation and then I came back. Backstage waiting for things, I do sometimes knit. But this afternoon we are headed out to go pick up our 2 oldest kids from college, so they will be home for the Thanksgiving holiday. So that is the quick life update about where I've been, but I'm guessing you have come here more for the knitting, so let's get to the projects. Okay, I actually have 5, not 10, can you imagine if I had 10? No, not 10. 5 finished objects that I'm going to share with you today. And most of them I finished either right before I went on vacation or while I was on vacation, or when I was with Hershey, because I spent a lot of time, getting him calm. And then once he had some meds the first couple days that made him, I think, a little loopy. But once he finally calmed down with the cone on, I just kind of had to hang out in the room with him. So I did do a fair bit of knitting then. Anyway, the first thing I finished was a pair of socks. These are my festive socks, is what I'm calling them. And they are knit, oh, I got a piece of hair. They are knit out of a Berry Fun Yarns mini sock set. So I think there are still some of those in the shop. I'm not sure if there's any of this colorway in particular, but there are some. It's a 50-gram skein and then a 20 gram contrast color. Now I will say that I have very big feet. I have a size US 11 women's. They're very long, narrow feet. And I thought I could make a pair out of 70 grams. But the truth is that when it comes right down to it, I take about 75 to 80 grams to make a full pair of socks at the length that I like. I want to say I usually do, I think these are about 7 inches. So I actually used a full set. But if you have less than ginormous feet like I do, you should be able to get a pair out with a 50 gram and then a 20 gram contrast. So, but this is the Very Berry Christmas colorway. It was sort of a one of a kind. It came out a little bit lighter than it was supposed to. Now, I will say, if you have been following my Very Fun Yarns shop recently, there has not been a lot of activity in there, partly because of the Advent kits I was working on, partly because of fruit season. I just haven't had time. I do plan on, I hope to have some time to do a little dyeing in the coming month, but it's been kind of an overwhelming late summer, early fall for me. So I'm kind of going about it in a very chill way. So I'm hoping, I want to dye some, but if it doesn't happen, I will hopefully have more time to do that next year when I do not plan to put out a full 24 countdown mini skein set. So there just isn't enough hours in the day when you do a lot of things. So anyway, but there are still quite a few skeins of yarn and bags and all kinds of goodies in the shop if you're looking for something for Christmas or for a loved one or stocking stuff or that sort of thing. Anyway, these turned out really cute. This is the Very Berry Christmas, and this is a cranberry mini skein. I really like the little speckles in there. So this green, so if you're not new to this channel, you probably have known and realized that I dye naturally with plants that I grow. And this green comes from marigolds, so that gives me a yellow. And I pair that with Saxon Blue Indigo, which gives me blue plus yellow equals green. And then the pink color and the speckles are a cochineal, which is a bug, and a lac, which also comes from a bug. So anyway, that is that. Those are the festive socks. Then right before I left, actually, I made the Parkview hat for my son. This is a pattern by Tracy Miller from the Grocery Girls, and it's a pretty simple pattern. It's written for DK weight or a fingering and mohair held double, which is what I did. So you can kind of see the fuzz factor on it. And this is a skein of yarn that my son Lincoln, who is going to be 12 in a couple weeks, he actually dyed with Kool-Aid with me one time. He loves purple, and so yeah, this is his skein. So it's a simple rib. The Parkview hat has a rib and then a little bit larger rib with some really nice decreases at the top. And he picked out the purple pom-pom to go on top. I just haven't tied it on yet. I don't know if any of you tie pom-poms on. You get these ones that you can tie on. I like to use a button on the inside to thread the strings through and then tie it because it makes the pom-pom a lot tighter. It'll stay a lot more firmly attached to the top of the hat, which is a good thing when it's a 12-year-old wearing it. Okay, then we have the travel mittens. Okay, this episode, I have not said this yet, but this episode it needs to be called the one where I unknit more than I knit. Now you will remember, if you've been around a while, that I started knitting a pair of mittens with this Zelana yarn that I got in Australia in 2019, and it is, I think it's merino, and it's possum, and it's like super warm and squishy. And it was this, I can't really see, but it was the dark green, I think it was called bottle green, and the yellow called honey. I had two 50-gram skeins, so one of each color. And I had purchased it back then thinking I just really liked it and I was going to do some sort of color work with it, but I had no idea. Well, I should have purchased a lot more because it would make a fabulous, if you're in Australia, that's mostly where I've seen it sold, or New Zealand, it would make a fabulous colorwork sweater. Anyway, I started with I think I made the Evia mitts, which is a pattern. I started by skein deer knits. Maybe if I have a picture from my frogged history of patterns in Ravelry, I'll put it up. I started there, then I messed up something and I didn't like how it was fitting, so I ripped it out. And then right before we went to Seattle, I had started I think it was like No Mountain High Enough mitts, No Valley Low Enough. It was by Megan Williams, who is from Rochester. She is an awesome designer. And there's a cat meowing at my door, so let me go see what that's about. Found the source of the meow. This is Graham. Say hi, Graham. Okay, I let Graham in. He wanted to be in here by me and s'mores, his mom. Anyway, so I started that pattern, and through no fault of the pattern, no fault of the yarn, I believe I chose the wrong pattern size. So I was like so close to finishing the first mitten. My husband had two meetings with customers. The Thursday we got there, and I was working on these mittens because it was supposed to get cold in Minnesota when we came back. And so I was like, oh, I gotta finish these mittens. That's what I have to do. Well, I was like, no lie, I was probably like right here, right before the increases or decreases. And I looked at it and see here the thumb gusset here. I had done the wrong size because my thumb, the length from my cuff to where I start the thumb gusset was like 3 inches. It was like twice as long as it was supposed to be. And I had noticed this previously, but I did one of those, maybe some of you will understand this, one of those, it's okay, I'll just pull it down on my hand farther. It looks fine, sort of things. But it didn't. It looked ridiculous. So I ripped it all out, and I was so mad at that point. I was like, I could just start this pattern over, but at that time, I was so sick of the pattern because I had screwed it up, not because the pattern was bad, but I was over it. I did not want to put that pattern back on the needles. I wanted a quick mitten that I could wear. So then I got to thinking, I thought about it all afternoon. In fact, when my husband came back from work, he was like, he could tell I was grumpy and he couldn't quite understand why, because I had just been relaxing all day. And then I explained to him that I had issue with my stupid mittens. And so I waited. Then the next day we went to Pike's Place Market in Seattle, which if any of you have been out there or live out there, it's a big market with food and crafts and all kinds of things. And there's a nice yarn store. I got yarn from MJ Yarns, who was in the market. And then there's another yarn store nearby. Is it called So Much Yarn? I can't remember, but I'll put it on the screen. Anyway, they were super nice there, and I happened to find and I had thought about this the night before. I was like, well, what if I get a fingering weight skein of yarn that has both the yellow and the green in it, and I hold it double, so that way the cuff can be yellow and the main color can be green. I knew I wouldn't have enough of just the green to make a solid pair of mittens, so that was the plan. And I happened to enter that yarn store, and I walked to the back where they had kind of a lot of their local dyers, and there was, let me see if I have it in here. Oh, I do, I have it in my other thing. There was the perfect skein of yarn. And I'm forgetting who it's by at the moment. I will put it on the screen, or if I forget, it's linked in my project page, but look at this yarn. This is it wound up. Is that not the most perfect skein to go with these two colors? Sorry, it's blowing out a smidge. The lighting here is terrible today because it is super gray out, so I have an extra light on, but it's sort of kind of making things wash out. it was perfect. And there was only one skein left. It was like the angels sang. And so I got the skein. I didn't make my husband, but I asked him, and he was willingly, he was my Swift in the hotel room. He held the yarn so that I could wind it up by hand. And by the time I came home 3 days later, I had finished my mittens, except for I think I had a decrease left on one, and then the thumbs. So it was perfect. And they are slightly big. I used the Waiting for Winter Mittens pattern by Susan B. Anderson, which I have used before and have loved. And that pattern is for worsted weight. And I have mentioned this before that I am a loose knitter. So I tend to be able to use a step higher in thickness yarn for the same. So like I could use an Aran weight for a worsted pattern and get the same gauge, I believe is what I'm trying to say here. So that's what I did. I held it double, so it was sort of more like an Aran weight, and I made a smaller size, and it is a little bit loose, but really it's comfy. It's not too big. I think it'll be perfect. And this is a non-superwash yarn, so I'm guessing as I wear it, it may felt slightly. But yeah, that's my travel. I'm calling these the travel mittens because the yarn, the two solids I got in Australia and the other one I got in Seattle. And these mittens have traveled with me a lot. The yarn in general, the mittens in various patterns have traveled with me, trying to figure out which one to make into an actual mitten. So thank goodness those are complete. Then after I came home and after Hershey hurt himself, I finished these socks, and I was kind of like bored with my projects. I still have a lot of blankets. I think I'll share that with you maybe during Vlogmas, kind of what I have left on the needles. But I have quite a few blankets left on the needles, but not a lot of other things. And so I was sort of like, I want something a little more fun and different. So I saw this pattern, as one does, while surfing Instagram, and it is called the Puff Cuffs by Shayna Cohen, and it was so fun to knit. Aren't these fun? They have a little hole. I think there's an option where you can leave the hole. There's a no hole option, and then there's also a shorter option. But I made the long option, and this was it was such a fun knit. I knitted in like 2 days, maybe 3, and I cast on, like the first day I cast on late at night. So I knit them in like 3 days, and I love them. They were so much fun. I'm actually planning, I'll show you in works in progress. I have another one on the needles. I'm making a pair for each of my kids to go in their Advent countdown kit. I'm putting together a little kit for them each so that they can open, a goodie each day. But I'm making the kit myself. So these are for my second child, who is a freshman at college this year. And ironically, when he came home this last weekend for the production, the Polar Express show, he said I had to patch up his other fingerless mittens because they had somehow gotten holes in 3 different places. So that was a job I did. But these are made out of some scraps I had. I believe it's in my project page, but I believe it's like Sweet Georgia, Cash Lux, and I think that's in the Kale Chip colorway. I'm forgetting what the other one is, but they're both a cashmere blend. So these are nice, squishy, soft mittens for my son Ian. Okay, and now the last project that I finished, I'm actually going to go to black and white here because I don't want to reveal the secret of the Advent Countdown kit, but this is my new pattern, which was released yesterday, November 20th. It is called the So Sweet, S-U-I-T-E, as in the Nutcracker Suite Ballet, the So Sweet wrap and lap blanket pattern. And this is the wrap version, so it's quite long. I chose to not put a fringe at the end of this one, but there are directions in the pattern for optional fringe at the end. But you can kind of see the pattern there, even though it's going to be in black and white. It's a bit of a chevron kind of pattern. And so each color, so there's 24, these are the colors for the days, and then there is a main color that you put between. So even if you're doing a kit, I do have quite a few. This is made with 10-gram minis. So it calls for 25 10-gram minis and then one 50-gram main color skein. It's all fingering weight, and I would say, so I put the amount obviously as a bit more because you could make it longer if you want, but also I didn't want you to run out of yarn in the pattern. But I would say I used between 6 and 7 grams of each color out of the 10 grams. And I think I used about 40 grams of the main color. But I put a little extra in there as a buffer. But you can see, you can just kind of wear it around your neck, kind of like this. You can kind of let it hang. Or you can drape it around your shoulders, kind of like that, or kind of wrap it, kind of wear it like that. But it's a super, I would say it's very easy, very beginner friendly, quick to memorize the pattern. It's interesting enough that you don't get bored, but it is easy enough that you could go on autopilot and, you know, not feel like super stressed. That was the goal. So if you get one of my kits, my Very Fun Yarn Countdown kits, you get the yarn to make it plus the pattern and then a few goodies that are mixed in as well. Going back to color now. So yeah, so the pattern is on sale right now. You can get it either on Ravelry or on my website where my yarn is. In both cases, it is 40% off until through Sunday, November 26th. So if you are planning something to make for the Christmas holiday and you want to make it, whether you have an Advent kit or you want to use it with scraps, or you could even use a solid, you could use 2 different colors, you know, or you could do like each of the days in the same color striped with a main color that is the same. So all those directions, of course, how to do those things are in the pattern. But yes, I was very excited about that. It was an idea I had last Christmas already, but it was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, and partly because, you know, pattern writing does take time. I hair in my mouth. Even if it is a simple pattern, it takes time. And also partly because I'm kind of a perfectionist and I'm an English teacher, writer by training. And so I found myself editing my pattern like I would edit a essay or something. I always found something new, and you know, there's lots of edits. So anyway, that is the exciting news there. I'll chat some more about the kits and things at the end in the Very Fun Yarns section, but I will put the links below in case you want to get in on one of those that I have left yet. And I'm actually drinking tea today. I need a little tea break. My throat is a little sore. I don't know that I'm necessarily getting a cold, but after being at the theater for a week with 80 kids that are all kind of germy, I feel like it was sort of inevitable. Okay, so I mentioned before that I frogged my travel mitts. Oh, time out. So I was interrupted by yet another kitten, and now we have the whole family in here. S'mores, Graham, and Hershey. So hopefully they won't be too noisy in the background. But what I was going to say, I was talking about frogging projects. So I frogged those mittens, again, made a new one, since last time, I'm not going to show you, but I'll put some pictures up on the screen. I frogged the spring socks, which was a pair of socks that I miscalculated amounts, and I was having to like weave in a different color because I ran out, and I just didn't like how it looked. I didn't want them myself. I was going to make them for my son, and he didn't really care, but I was not having fun making them, and the colors, they just, I don't know. I just have so much beautiful yarn that it was like, what? I was only like about 3/4 the way with the first one. So I was going to have to knit a whole nother one. And I thought, well, I'm hating this right now. Why am I going to force myself to do this? I could pick a different skein of yarn that has enough yarn to make a whole pair of socks and keep this for my scrap blanket. So that's what I did. Ripped that one out. I also ripped out the French macaroon baby sweater that I had started. There was nothing wrong with it. I just wasn't feeling it. And I just decided there's enough going on in life right now that I don't need to force myself to make a gift for someone simply because they had a baby. So I went to Target and I bought a super cute outfit, some little booties and a book, and gave them that gift instead. And I'm sure it was just as appreciated as the sweater would have been, and it was way less stress for me. So here's my public service announcement as we get into gift season. Just a gentle reminder that although handmade gifts are wonderful, if it is causing you too much stress, let it go. Don't do it to yourself. It is not worth it. Your sanity and your mental health is not worth any sort of handmade gift. And if you really want to make it for someone and the time is running out, that someone should understand if you want to gift it to them, half finished or gifted as the promise that you're going to make it and finish it in the coming months. So just remember that. If you need permission to not gift handmade items, I am going to give you permission right now. So that's it. That's my public service announcement for the day. So on to works in progress. I don't think I ripped out any other things, but let's see what I got down here. The Sophie shawl is my first one. So the Sophie shawl, if you recall, I started about a month ago, kind of in remembrance of a friend who passed away, and loved the color blue. And last time, this is a really popular pattern, but I am making the larger size. And last time I came to you, I was down here. So I've knit all of this, so that's quite a bit. It is a pretty simple pattern. You have an I-cord edge and then mostly garter stitch with some increases every couple rounds. So yeah, I'm just kind of plugging away. I am using my BFL Aran base, my Berry Fun Yarns BFL Aran. It's Superwash Blue Face Leicester, and I think it has might have nylon in it. I can't remember, but yeah, and it's in the overalls colorway. So it's just a nice blue, and it looks like it's pretty much a solid. Sorry, my knitting needle is dinging on my teacup, but it does have some. You can see it better back here. It has some tonality to it a little bit. So that is that one, pretty self-explanatory. I kind of pick that one up every once in a while when I need just something really easy. I think the repeat is like every 6 rows or something. So I like to finish at the end of a repeat, so that way if I put it down for a while, I know that when I start up again, I just start back at the beginning of the repeat. So, and I believe you knit until you've used like about half of your yarn with increases, and then you start decreasing. So I have not quite gotten to the end of the increases, but I'm getting close. Okay, so after the Sophie shawl, let me show you the second rendition of the puff cuffs, which I am loving. So this one is going to be for my 16-year-old son. I've just started the first one, and this is yarn I also got in Seattle. Find the tag, and it is by MJ Yarns. It's called Glacial Falls, and it is 75 merino, 15% nylon, 10% tencel. I've never knit with tencel before, but the lady, the nice young lady who was selling it, told me that it just kind of, it acts similar to nylon, but it gives it a shinier appearance. So if you've knit with tencel before and you have any thoughts, put them below. But yeah, it seems to be going fine. It feels a little more like silk. It's the shine. I'm sure it's the tencel. It's kind of the shininess of it. So I don't really have a strong opinion if I like it or I don't like it, but it's going good. And I think you'll like this color a lot. So again, I got one skein. I've squished it. I wound it into 2 balls, and I squished the balls in my little yarn cozy, and so I'm holding them double. So this pattern for DK weight takes around 200 yards, I think, in the size that I'm making, maybe slightly less, 170, I can't remember. But one skein held double is perfect for a pair in the size that I'm making. Now I am using the pattern recommended needle sizes. I believe it was a 3 for the cuff and a 4 for the main part of the hand. However, my gauge is slightly bigger. So while my kids' hands really would be the size 2 in the pattern, I'm actually making the size 1 because of the gauge difference, and it's coming out perfect. So, yeah, I'm amazed. Sometimes I don't take a, what is that called? A tape measure with me, and I kind of wing it as to how long I want it to be, and it seems to have worked out pretty similarly to my other ones. So I'm going to take these on the road when I go today. We have about 4 hours of driving to get our kids, because we have to go 1.5 hours one way, pick up one, and then kind of go up and around, pick up the other, and then another hour back home. So it's like a circle. I thought we were going to get them, but so these are coming with me today. The next thing I have been working on quite a bit actually is my Just Because socks. These, if you've been around for a while, you might remember this is the first sock that I completed quite a while ago, and it is made out of Julie Aslin Nomad 80/20 in the Muse colorway. That is the purple, and the pink I believe is a sweet paprika. That sort of sounds like maybe it's been a long time and I don't have the label with me, but it has a little bit of purple mixed into it, so it's really matches nice. But so this pattern is my own making. I'm doing a 2x2, 20 rounds of 2x2, and I usually do either 60 or 64 stitches on a US 0 needle. These are actually Knit Picks Caspian wooden double points. I really like these for socks. So it is a 2x2 rib for 20 rows, and then I'm doing a pattern that is a 6-row repeat. So it's pretty simple, but I'll show it to you, and it is on my pattern page, my Ravelry page. So it is a purl 3, knit 1, repeated for 1 round, and then I knit for 2 rounds, and then I do opposite. I knit 3, purl 1 for 1 round, and then knit 2 rounds again, and you just repeat that. And so you kind of get this broken rib textured pattern, which I really like actually. I made a pair like this for my husband in that Crazy Zelber ball not long ago. But anyway, I have about 15 rows to go before I get to the heel, so you can kind of see where I am here. 10, 15 rows. So I would really like to finish these by December 1st, because I have plans to cast on more socks for Vlogmas, 2 pair in particular that I would like to be working concurrently. So right now I have this pair of socks on the needles, as well as 1 other pair of socks on the needles. So that's not too bad. At one point I had like 6 pair of socks, so Yeah, so I'm hoping to finish these in the next week or so. I really wanted, this would be my priority, except that I wanted to give my kids their fingerless mitts. I wanted to send them back with them in their Advent kits when they go home, or not go home, when they go to college after Thanksgiving break. So those are first, and once the puff cuffs are done, then I'll be back to these as my main project. Okay, so speaking of the other socks, I have worked some on these. Oh, and this is another project that I ripped out completely. I was probably 4 or 5 inches in on these. This is the heel toe do-si-do pattern by Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady Designs. And I like the pattern a lot, actually. Let's see if I can show you. Oop, my needles are falling. You see the pattern a little bit? It's kind of like a back and forth pattern. So it looks a little more distinct, the pattern does, if you're using self-striping yarn. But I am using this variegated yarn. This is a Leading Men Fiber Arts yarn, and I believe it's a 75-25. I can't remember what that base is. But my son Ian, who is the freshman at college that I made the other mittens for, he helps me when I do the Zombie Knitpocalypse market in June. He's helped me for the last 2 years. And not this June, but the June before, he picked out this colorway as, oop, I got a helper here, as something that he'd like me to make into a pair of socks for him. So that's what this is. So I was probably this far, and the reason that I ripped out is because I was doing, the pattern has 3 sizes, 56 stitches, 64, and 72. And typically I do these 64 stitches around for my kids and my husband. However, this pattern has some slip stitches in it, and as I was making it, on top of that, it's also a lighter fingering weight. I think it's like 460 yards per 100 grams instead of the 400 to 100 grams. So what I was noticing is that the circumference was coming out way skinnier than is typical. Now, my son does not have huge feet, however, he has a big heel, and I was afraid that the other size, the 64 stitches, would not fit around his heel, especially because I have made myself a pair of these socks, and they are also a bit tight on me. So what I did is I ripped it out completely and I recast on, and now I'm doing the large size, the 72 stitch size instead. So 72 stitches, US 0, and it's going swimmingly. And I would ideally like to finish these by Christmas Day so that I could gift them to him as well. Now, remember before, just a few minutes ago, I said don't stress about gifts. I am not planning on gifting too many hand knit things this year for Christmas. However, I would love to have one item for each of my kids for Christmas morning, and probably my husband. Oop, I got a menace. Got a helper here, Graham. He's after my tea. Anyway, I would like to have something for each of them on Christmas morning, if possible. All right, I'm going to put this away, and we're going to see if we need to move my cat. I don't know what he's doing, or if he's going to sit down and be good. All right, we'll go with it. I think he's going to sit down and let me continue. So that was my heel toe socks, which was my 5th thing that I frogged since I saw you last and recast on. What's left? I have 2 things left. I have a sweater and a blanket that I've been working on. So this sweater has been on the needles, I don't know, since like January or February of last year, and I'm going to finish it in the very near future, I hope. And that is the Sunray sweater, and it is by Jennifer Steingass. It has this beautiful color work at the top, and then it will also have color work at the cuff of the sleeve. So I was actually, let's see, you can see, I was up here the last time I came to you. And so I've knit around and around. I took this to a knit night a couple weeks ago, week or 2 ago, week and a half ago. And yeah, I just knit around and around. So I do want to get some of this done too. I don't know if I want to, you know, in the past I've made like knitting goals where like I work on a certain project a certain day or a certain amount of time or blah blah blah. I don't know if I want to do that or not. Sometimes I find it really helpful, and other times I feel it really like soul crushing, creative crushing kind of things. So sometimes I feel better just kind of going with whatever I'm in the mood for, but then you know things like your sweater that you want to wear in winter never gets done. So this one might need to go in some like 30 minutes a day knitting or something like that. Maybe once my socks are off the needles. So that is the sunrise sweater. And then the very last thing, I have not done a ton of knitting on, but this is so hard to show you. I will show you just the colors I have been working on. This is my favorite blanket by Kay Jones. It's a year-long knit-along she's doing with Dan on her Bakery Bears channel. And I have started the decreases on both sides of the blanket. So it's a corner to corner kind of. So you increase, sorry about the wobble, that would be my cat. You increase to a certain point, and then one side continues to increase while the other side turns to make it a rectangle, and then the other side turns too when you finish off. So I am on color number 9. There are 12 sections, so you're supposed to have done like one a month. So I'm a little bit behind, but I'm in the decreases of color 9. But this blanket is going to be humongous when it is done. So these colors are kind of bright. Let me see if I can find the name of these colors. One of them, so there's like a light purple. I'm holding 2 fingering weights double. The light purple is a Very Fun Yarns kind of a lilac color. And then the other I'm holding it with is this, which is Poppy Shop yarn. You know, I think their name is different now, I want to say. It's a Canadian dyer. So, yes, so this, I don't have too much left on this section, I don't think. I have to check my stitch count, because what happens is you have to decrease until you get to a certain number of stitches. And this pattern is free to all patrons on their Patreon account. But also, if you just watch their episodes, she tells you how to do everything, and you just write it down yourself. It's not super complicated. But look, I'm going to show you. I'm going to hold it up. Let's see if I can hold it up. Look at how huge this thing is. It is huge. It's going to have, by the time it's done, it's going to have almost, probably like 11 skeins of fingering weight yarn in it. So it is going to be a nice, cozy blanket. I have a feeling it's going to fit on our queen size bed. But we will see. It's kind of hard to tell right now. When you do those big blankets and they're all like squished up on your needles, it's hard to tell exactly how big something is going to be. And I have it in a big, extra large tote bag from Very Fun Yarns. There's some really cool ones in the shop right now. And we'll talk more about that in a minute here. Oh, actually, that's a perfect segue, because that is my last works in progress. So we can go right on to Very Fun Yarn News. The bags, there are some holiday bags already in the shop. And if you're interested in something like that, and then also like general bags besides just winter holiday ones. But there will be some more coming to the shop, probably the first week of December. I have a holiday bazaar I am setting up at that December 2nd. If you're in the Rochester area, it is the Rochester Farmers Market Holiday Bazaar, and it is at the Olmsted County Fairgrounds from 9 a.m. to 12 noon that Saturday morning in the Floral building upstairs. So I will be set up there with some yarn and bags, jam, juice, that kind of thing, if you're in the area and want to stop by. But after that, I will then put all those bags that I have that haven't sold online. I just don't want to take the time to put them all online for a week and then have them sell at the farmers market bazaar. And anyway, so yeah, so that is going to happen. I will post some new things. Like I said, I hope to have a little time to do some dyeing. I have some colorways in my brain, it's just finding a little time to do that. I'm hoping that things will calm down now that Hershey is feeling better and the Polar Express is done, the Advent kits are out. Yeah, we'll see what happens. The other big thing happening, I did mention already, and that is the So Sweet pattern that is out on Ravelry and my website. So if you have any questions about that, if you are interested in a kit, I believe there is one 20-gram countdown kit left, and then maybe like 6 or 7 of the 10-gram kits that would make 10-gram kits, remember, would make the wrap size. Plus I had I had like 3 to 4 grams extra of each color plus the main color. So I am actually planning on making a scrappy pair of socks for Christmas each day with those. I'll be doing a little bit of that. You'll see that in Vlogmas, which is the last thing. I am planning on doing Vlogmas this year. Last year was my first year and I had a lot of fun with it. It is kind of a lot of work to do a video every day, but it also really just put me in the Christmas mood because I was sharing content with you that was very Christmassy and very holiday, festive kind of, sort of, yeah. So, and if you are not a celebrator of Christmas, that is fine. You can still enjoy Vlogmas outside of having like a Christmas tree. It's mostly a festive holiday season for us. We don't have a ton of like Christmas related things that we do. It's just festive. So anyway, I think that is it. I'm going to stop my babbling and have some more tea for my throat, have some lunch before we head out to go get our sons. And yeah, thank you so much for joining and for coming back after another little longer than expected break. So wherever you are, I hope you are staying warm and cozy and you are enjoying your making, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.